The sea stretched endlessly beneath a golden sky. Waves swelled and whispered, brushing against the sides of quiet ships as gulls drifted above. Somewhere across that vast ocean lay the beginning of a story, one that would reach every corner of the world. It began in the East Blue, the gentlest of seas, where a young boy named Monkey D. Luffy dreamed of adventure. His heart was simple and pure. He wanted to become the king of the pirates. But Luffy was no ordinary boy. In a moment of childish curiosity, he had eaten a strange fruit, the gum-gum fruit, a treasure of the sea that robbed him of the ability to swim, yet made his body stretch like rubber. When he laughed, it was bright and fearless. When he dreamed, it was with complete certainty. "I'm going to be the king of the pirates," he said, even as others called him foolish. He grew up in a small harbor town under the watchful eye of a mountain bandit woman named the Dawn, and looked up to a pirate captain named red-haired Shanks. Shanks and his crew were lively and loud, full of laughter and rum. They treated life like a song, and to Luffy, they were the embodiment of freedom. One day, bandits came to the bar where Shanks's crew was relaxing. They insulted and threatened the pirates, but Shanks only laughed. He didn't fight back, not because he was weak, but because he didn't need to prove himself. Luffy couldn't understand that kind of patience. To him, being a man meant standing up instantly, even if it meant getting hurt. Later that day, when Luffy's frustration boiled over, he found himself in danger. The same bandits took him hostage and sailed out to sea. It was there that Shanks arrived, silent, fearless, and suddenly very serious. When a sea monster lunged from the waves, Shanks saved Luffy at the cost of his own arm. The sea turned quiet again, and Shanks' red hair gleamed in the sunlight as he smiled. "Don't cry," he said softly. "You're strong." Before Shanks left the village, he gave Luffy a treasure, his straw hat. He told him to return it one day when he'd become a great pirate. That promise became Luffy's compass. Years passed. Luffy grew older, stronger, and hungrier for the sea. When he finally set out, it was in a tiny boat with no crew, no fame, and no fear. The waves were wide open before him. He was soon swallowed by a whirlpool, thrown about until he crashed into a small island town terrorized by pirates. These were the men of Captain Alvida, a woman feared for her strength and her iron club. But on that island, Luffy met a timid boy named Kobe, who dreamed of joining the Navy. Kobe had been Alvida's captive for years, scrubbing decks and living in fear. Luffy, in his usual way, changed that. He didn't try to convince Kobe, he simply showed him what courage looked like. He faced Alvida head-on, took her blows without flinching, and sent her flying with a single punch. Together, Luffy and Kobe set sail. Their small ship cut through the waves toward a new destination, the marine base at Shellstown, home of a fearsome swordsman named Roronoa Zoro. Zoro was said to be a demon, a bounty hunter who'd been captured by the Marines after a dispute with their cruel officer, Captain Morgan. When Luffy and Kobe arrived, they found him tied to a post in the sun, starving but unbroken. Luffy, of course, saw something different. He didn't see a monster, he saw a man who could be part of his crew. Despite the warnings, he walked straight up to the bound swordsman. "Join me," he said. Zoro refused at first, but when Luffy stood up to Morgan's tyranny, when he risked his life to protect Kobe and to free Zoro, something in the swordsman shifted. After the dust settled and Morgan was defeated, Zoro smiled faintly. "Fine," he said, "I'll join you, but I have my own goal, to become the greatest swordsman in the world." And so the first two members of the Straw Hat Pirates set sail together, their ship rocking gently in the dawn light. Their next stop was a small island where rumors told of a cunning thief, a woman who targeted pirates exclusively. Her name was Nami. She was quick, clever, and cautious. When she met Luffy and Zoro, she saw opportunity. She wanted money, not friendship. But Luffy, in his boundless optimism, declared she'd be his navigator. Before long, their paths crossed with a man named Buggy the Clown, another pirate captain. This one powered by the chop-chop fruit, which allowed him to split his body into pieces. Buggy's laughter echoed through the night as he rained cannonballs on the town he'd conquered. Nami pretended to side with him, but when Buggy threatened Luffy, her heart wavered. Luffy, meanwhile, laughed through every danger. He fought Buggy with playful strength, knocking his colorful parts across the square. When the battle was over, Buggy was scattered to the wind, Nami joined the crew for real, and the ship sailed on once again. They soon arrived at another town where a strange liar named Usopp shouted tall tales from the hills. "I'm a brave warrior of the sea," he cried, though everyone knew him as a harmless dreamer. But Luffy saw more than that. When a real threat emerged, the cruel but handsome Captain Kuro, who had served as a butler to Usopp's friend, Kaya, Usopp was forced to face his fears. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Usopp fought to protect the town. The battle stretched through the misty slope and quiet gardens. Kuro's claws flashed like scythes, but Luffy stood firm. When dawn came, the pirates were defeated, and Kaya gifted the Straw Hats a ship, the Going Merry. It was the first true vessel of their adventure. The sails opened wide like wings, and the sea breeze carried them onward. Usopp joined the crew, shouting lies and laughter as they set out once more. Their next destination brought them to the floating restaurant Barate, a grand ship on the sea, run by proud chefs who fought as fiercely as they cooked. It was there they met Sanji, the blonde-haired cook who dreamed of finding the All Blue, a legendary sea where every fish from every ocean gathered. At Barate, trouble arrived in the form of Don Krieg, a pirate captain whose ambition was as big as his cruelty. Krieg demanded the restaurant as his own, but the chefs stood their ground. Luffy fought alongside them, his fists flying like waves against the steel-armored Krieg. In the chaos, Sanji revealed his own strength and his heart. When his old mentor, Zeph, reminded him of the time they'd survived starvation together, Sanji wept quietly and made his choice. He joined Luffy's crew, bowing to Zeph before stepping aboard the Going Merry. The Straw Hat Pirates were now 5: Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji. A captain, a swordsman, a navigator, a sniper, and a cook. They were still small, still unknown, but their laughter carried far across the East Blue.
Far away, in the shadows, another pirate was waiting, one who ruled the seas with fishmen at his command, Arlong. And as the Merry sailed toward Nami's homeland, the crew had no idea what storms awaited them there. The sea had a way of hiding secrets beneath its waves. To anyone who looked upon it, it seemed calm, endless, and welcoming. But to those who listened carefully, the wind carried whispers of pain, hope, and adventure. The Straw Hat Pirates sailed steadily onward, their laughter mingling with the cries of gulls and the gentle slap of waves against the Going Merry. Each member had a role, a dream, and a heart full of courage. Yet even as they celebrated their newfound camaraderie, the shadows of the past waited silently on the horizon. For Nami, the navigator of the crew, the horizon was not just a line of endless water. It was a reminder of chains she had once borne, of a village under the cruel rule of the fishman Arlong, and of a debt she had been forced to pay for years. When the Mary approached a small island, her home, Kokoyasi village, the wind grew still, as if the sea itself was holding its breath. Nami's smile faded. Memories, sharp and clear, drifted over her like waves against the shore. Arlong's tyranny was absolute. The villagers were enslaved, taxed heavily, and watched at every step. Nami's mother had died when she was young, leaving the girl to navigate both grief and duty. Arlong had promised her a dream, to draw maps of the entire world, and in exchange she would be free. But freedom had never come. Instead, she worked in silence, saving every coin she could, hoping one day she could buy her village back. The Straw Hat Pirates had no idea of the danger waiting for them. They saw only a sleepy village with children playing and fishermen tending nets. But Luffy, with his unerring sense of justice, could feel the tension in the air. As soon as they docked, Nami led her friends to her old home, avoiding the watchful eyes of Arlong's men. The villagers eyed them nervously, whispering warnings. But Luffy, always undeterred, simply laughed. "Don't worry, we'll take care of whatever's bothering you." That evening, under the soft glow of the setting sun, the truth was revealed. Arlong himself appeared, tall, scaled, and smiling with a cruel delight. He mocked Nami for her dreams and her weakness, claiming the village was forever under his control. But Luffy did not hesitate. In the quiet, calm night, he strode forward and declared, softly but firmly, "No one will ever hurt you again." The battle that followed was unlike any they had faced before. Arlong's crew was strong, well-trained, and loyal to their captain. The water around them seemed to ripple with tension. Zoro's swords gleamed in the fading light. Sanji's kicks flowed like water, and Usopp's aim was steady, despite his trembling heart. Luffy's fists stretched like rubber, striking with both force and precision. He did not fight for glory, nor for treasure, but for the freedom of a girl who had long suffered in silence. Hours passed, measured only by the sound of steel clashing, the crackle of broken wood, and the murmurs of villagers hiding in the shadows. And then, with one final, soaring punch, Luffy shattered Arlong's tyranny. The fishman fell, his reign ended, and the village exhaled a collective sigh of relief. Nami, finally free, embraced her friends. She had carried a heavy burden for years, but now, with the Straw Hats by her side, she could dream openly. Her maps, once symbols of debt and despair, were now symbols of hope and adventure. With the Arlong saga behind them, the crew sailed onward. The Mary cut through the waves, carrying laughter and quiet conversation as night settled over the sea. Their next destination was Town, a bustling town at the edge of the East Blue, famous as the place where the great pirate Gold Roger had been executed. Here the air smelled of salt and smoke, and the streets thrummed with the footsteps of sailors, merchants, and dreamers. Luffy wandered the town with wide eyes, hearing stories of Roger's final words and the treasure he had left behind, the legendary One Piece. The dream of becoming the king of the pirates felt closer than ever, yet shadows lingered. At a tavern, Luffy met a small but fierce man named Smoker, a marine officer who carried a weapon that could transform him into smoke. Smoker had a relentless sense of justice and a keen eye for pirates. For Luffy, the encounter was another lesson. The world was full of both danger and opportunity. He could pursue his dream, but only with courage, wit, and the loyalty of his crew. In Town, the Straw Hats also met Buggy, the clown, once more, who had escaped from the town of Orange. The encounter was brief, but chaotic, filled with laughter and the smell of cannon smoke. Luffy's carefree determination contrasted with Buggy's obsession with power and fear, highlighting a truth the young pirates carried in their hearts. The sea was vast, but they were stronger together. Soon the Merry ventured into the Grand Line, a sea of storms, islands, and mysteries. The first days were calm, but the winds whispered of challenges to come. Each wave seemed to carry the promise of adventure, each cloud the shadow of danger. The Straw Hats sailed past drifting islands and floating reefs, meeting strange creatures and witnessing phenomena that made even Luffy laugh in awe. They learned to trust one another, not only in battle, but in the quiet moments, when a storm threatened to tip the ship, when a map needed reading, or when the crew simply shared stories under a starlit night. Along the way, they found themselves facing minor adversaries, pirates chasing treasure, mysterious figures with secret motives, and islands where rules were strange and unpredictable. Luffy's leadership, Zoro's unwavering strength, Nami's clever navigation, Usopp's inventive thinking, and Sanji's steadfast courage were tested, sometimes gently, sometimes fiercely, shaping them into a crew that could weather anything the Grand Line might throw at them. The sea was no longer just a path to adventure, it was a teacher. Every wave carried a lesson in patience, every storm a test of courage. Luffy's dream, once a distant echo, grew louder with every mile, and his friends' dreams intertwined with his. Zoro's swords, Nami's maps, Usopp's courage, and Sanji's all blue. And so, as the Merry Go sailed into the unknown, the night wrapped the crew in a soft blanket of stars. The ocean hummed a quiet lullaby, and the crew slept under its watchful gaze, unaware of the wonders and dangers awaiting them. Islands of mystery, pirates with extraordinary powers, and the first whispers of a treasure that could change the world. The wind that carried the Going Merry grew colder and wilder as they approached the edge of the known world. The East Blue stretched far behind them now, peaceful and quiet, a memory of home. Ahead rose the towering, mysterious gateway known as Reverse Mountain. The sea there was strange, the currents flowing upward instead of down. 4 oceans, east, west, north, and south blue, met at this very point, funneling their waters up the mountain slopes. The summit was veiled in mist, and from it flowed the Grand Line, a world unlike any they had ever known before.
Nami studied her maps carefully, her brow furrowed. "The currents here are impossible," she murmured. "We have to ride the water uphill." The ship trembled as the Going Merry was caught in the rushing tide. The crew clung to ropes and rails, the roar of water filling their ears. Zoro laughed in disbelief, Sanji steadied the mast, and Usopp screamed at the heavens. Luffy, of course, stretched his arms wide and shouted, "Let's go!" The ship surged upward, carried by the force of the converging seas. For a breathless moment, they were weightless at the mountain's peak, and then, with a crash of foam and light, they were racing downward into the Grand Line. But before they could celebrate, a dark shadow rose from the sea below. A massive whale loomed ahead, larger than the Merry itself. Its body was scarred, its eyes sad and ancient. The ship struck the whale's head with a thud that echoed across the waves. When the foam cleared, the crew found themselves facing the enormous creature, whose name was Laboon. Laboon was a gentle giant, a whale who waited at the base of Reverse Mountain for a crew that had long since vanished. The Roombar pirates, his friends, had promised to return after venturing into the Grand Line. They never did. Decades passed, and Laboon remained, ramming his head against the mountain in sorrow, hoping one day to see them again. The Straw Hats listened to his story in silence. Even Luffy, whose usual energy filled every room, grew quiet. Then, without warning, he picked up a paintbrush and drew a smiling face on Laboon's forehead. He said, softly, "There, now you're a part of our crew too. We'll come back one day, and we'll see who's grown stronger." Laboon's mournful cries turned to deep, rumbling joy. The Going Merry sailed onward, leaving the whale behind, but carrying his story with them. A story of loyalty and waiting, of promises kept in spirit, even when the sea takes everything else away. After Reverse Mountain, the Straw Hats' next stop was a mysterious island called Whiskey Peak, a place that welcomed pirates with open arms. The town glittered with lanterns and music, and the people showered the Straw Hats with food, wine, and celebration. But Nami's sharp eyes noticed the smiles were too wide, the hospitality too warm. As the night wore on, one by one, her friends fell asleep, except for Zoro, who stayed awake, hand on his sword. When the moon reached its peak, the truth emerged. The townsfolk were bounty hunters, members of a secret organization called Baroque Works, whose leader remained hidden behind the name Mr. Zero. Their mission was to capture pirates and collect rewards. And Zoro faced them alone under the silver light, his blades gleaming like stars. He moved through the shadows, calm and precise, cutting through deception and danger alike. When Luffy awoke and saw Zoro surrounded by defeated enemies, he misunderstood, and the two clashed briefly in a storm of fists and steel, laughter and fury mixing like thunder. After the misunderstanding cleared, they learned from one of the agents, a tall woman named Miss Wednesday, that the Baroque Works' true goal was much darker. The organization planned to seize control of a desert kingdom called Alabasta. And Miss Wednesday herself was no ordinary agent. She revealed her true name, Nefertari Vivi, Princess of Alabasta, working undercover to save her homeland. The Straw Hats listened quietly as she spoke of her people, of a kingdom torn by drought and rebellion. Her voice
trembled not with fear, but with determination. Luffy didn't need convincing. He said simply, "If you need help, we'll take you there." So began a new chapter in their voyage, a journey not for treasure or fame, but for justice and friendship. As the Going Merry sailed toward Alabasta, the Grand Line revealed its strange nature. The weather shifted in an instant. Clear skies turned to blizzards, calm seas to whirlpools. The islands they passed were like fragments of different worlds, each one unique, unpredictable, and alive. At one stop, they met giants, warriors from the island of Elbaf, locked in a century-long duel. The giants' laughter shook the earth as they fought each day, their bond built on pride and honor. The Straw Hats watched in awe, learning that even endless battle could be born from respect instead of hatred. Another island brought storms of snow and whispers of illness. Nami fell gravely ill, her fever rising as the ship rocked through ice and wind. Luffy refused to stop until they found help. The sea seemed endless, but hope glowed faintly like a lantern in the fog. Through hardship and cold, their friendship deepened. Each challenge strengthened their trust, the kind that didn't need words, just actions. And always, above the crash of waves and cry of the wind, the Grand Line seemed to murmur its secrets. Dreams are fragile things, but those who chase them will find the world waiting for them. By the time the Going Merry approached the next great island, Drum Island, a kingdom of snow, their journey had already changed them. Luffy's smile had grown steadier, Zoro's eyes sharper, Nemi's maps more precise. Usopp spoke his lies with new confidence, and Sanji, ever watchful, cooked meals that warmed the heart. The night before landfall, the crew gathered on deck. The stars above the Grand Line were unlike any they had ever seen before. Brighter, colder, almost close enough to touch. Nami, weak but awake, traced constellations with her finger. "We've come a long way," she whispered. "Yeah, and we're just getting started," Luffy said softly. The waves lapped gently at the Merry's hull. Somewhere far below, the ocean sang its endless lullaby, one that carried the dreams of all who sailed upon it. And so, with their course set and their hearts full, the Straw Hat Pirates drifted into sleep, their ship gliding through moonlit snow, unaware of the doctor who awaited them beyond the storm, and of a new friend's heart that would join theirs on this boundless sea.
The sky above the Grand Line had turned a quiet gray, heavy with snow that drifted like feathers. The Going Merry creaked softly as it sailed through the falling flakes, the sea as still as glass. Nami lay in her cabin, pale and feverish, her breath shallow. Her illness had struck suddenly, and the crew's laughter had fallen into silence. The cold bit deep, and worry hung in the air like frost. Luffy stood on deck, his straw hat dusted with snow. "We'll find a doctor," he said simply. His voice carried no doubt, only resolve. Their search led them to Drum Island, a kingdom buried beneath mountains of snow and ruled once by a cruel king named Wapol, who had abandoned his people. When they arrived, the villagers eyed them with fear, remnants of the old king's rule still haunting them. But one person had remained behind, a doctor who lived atop the highest peak, Dr. Kureha, a woman said to be over 100 years old, and her assistant, a blue-nosed reindeer who could walk and talk like a human. His name was Tony Chopper. Chopper was shy and kind-hearted, a creature torn between two worlds,
man and beast, doctor and dreamer. He had eaten the human fruit, gaining the ability to think, speak, and feel as humans do. But the people of Drum had once rejected him for his differences, and his mentor, the kind and eccentric Dr. Hiraluk, had taught him what it meant to live with hope despite rejection. When the Straw Hats arrived, Chopper watched them warily from afar, hiding in the snowdrifts and pine trees. But when Luffy carried Nami up the frozen mountain, braving storms and cliffs, Chopper's heart began to stir. He saw in Luffy the same spirit that Hiraluk had once shown, a spirit that never gave up, no matter the odds. High atop the mountain, in a castle of ice and stone, Dr. Kureha examined Nami carefully. She said, "A simple infection. She'll recover with rest." Relief washed over the crew like sunlight breaking through clouds. But their peace was short-lived. Wapol, the exiled king, had returned, seeking to reclaim his throne. His power came from a strange fruit that allowed him to eat anything, even his enemies, and merge them into his own body. His soldiers stormed the castle, their shouts echoing through the frozen halls. Luffy faced them without hesitation, his breath steaming in the cold air. The battle was fierce but swift. Luffy's fists struck like thunder, each blow filled with the strength of his will. Wapol fled once again, swallowed by his own greed and cowardice. As the storm cleared, the sun rose over Drum Island, painting the snow in shades of gold. Chopper stood before the crew, unsure and trembling. Luffy looked at him with that same easy smile that seemed to warm even the coldest places. He said softly, "Come with us. We need a doctor." Chopper hesitated. The memory of rejection, of loneliness, clung to him. He said whispered, "I'm a monster." Luffy's grin only widened. "No, you're not. You're our friend." And just like that, the reindeer who had once hidden from the world found a place to belong. Dr. Kureha, standing on the snowy cliffs, watched them go. She tossed a final farewell into the wind, a cry for Hiraluk, for Chopper, and for all who dared to dream. Above them, pink snowflakes drifted down, cherry blossoms blooming from the mountainside, just as Hiraluk had once promised. As the Going Merry sailed away, Chopper stood at the bow, tears frozen on his cheeks, smiling through the wind. The island grew small behind them, but the warmth of home stayed in their hearts. The Grand Line stretched ahead, wild, unpredictable, and full of wonder. Their journey next led them to Alabasta, the desert kingdom Vivi had spoken of with both love and fear. From the sea, the land appeared endless and dry, dunes rippling like waves of gold beneath a burning sun. The air was hot and heavy, a stark contrast to the snows they had just left. The crew wiped sweat from their brows as they followed Vivi inland. The once prosperous kingdom was now divided, its people misled by the shadowy influence of Baroque works and its hidden leader, Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Villages lay in ruin, rivers had dried up, and rebellion simmered under the surface. But amid the heat and the hardship, there was still kindness. Strangers shared water, children laughed despite the dust, and Vivi's hope burned brighter than the sun overhead. As they traveled, the Straw Hats faced new enemies, agents of Baroque works with strange powers and code names. Mr. Five could turn explosions into weapons with just a flick of his nose. Miss Valentine floated like a feather or crushed like a boulder with her weight-changing fruit. Each encounter tested the crew's resolve, but their teamwork grew stronger, their laughter louder. Even in battle, there was playfulness. Usopp's treks, Sanji's graceful kicks, Luffy's wild, unpredictable courage. Between the fights and the sandstorms, they shared quiet moments under the stars. A gentle meal, a story, a dream whispered into the night.
As they neared the heart of Alabasta, Luffy looked out over the dunes, the moonlight glinting off his straw hat. He said softly, "The world's so big. There's no end to it." Vivi smiled faintly. That's what makes it worth saving.
The wind carried their words across the desert, over ruins and oasis, toward the city where fate awaited them. Though danger loomed, though Crocodile's name was whispered like a curse, the Straw Hats pressed onward with unwavering faith in each other. Luffy's laughter led the way, a sound so bright it seemed to make the desert bloom. The sea, now far behind them, watched in silence as its children carried their dreams inland, guided not by compasses, but by friendship. And somewhere, perhaps beyond the horizon, the ocean smiled, for it knew their story was only just beginning.